The trucks rumbled into Willowbrook like they always did, trailing the promise of bright lights and fried dough. It was 1982, and the annual carnival was the biggest event in our small town. We didn't have much, but for 1 week in July, we had the Willowbrook Carnival. Kids bounced on the balls of their feet, eager for cotton candy and dizzying rides. Parents smiled, remembering their own childhood joys. The air crackled with anticipation, and for a while everything felt perfect. Nobody knew the darkness lurking beneath the surface. Nobody knew that this year the carnival brought something sinister with it. Amongst the usual attractions, the strongman game, the cotton candy vendor, the rickety roller coaster, was a newcomer. A solitary tent stood near the back, its banner flapping in the summer breeze. Scrawled across it in uneven, dripping letters were the words, "Grinny the Clown, he'll make you smile again." The name sent shivers down my spine, though I couldn't quite say why. Word spread like wildfire about Grinny the Clown. He was unlike any clown anyone had ever seen. His face wasn't painted, but covered in a grotesque, permanent-looking grin. It was wide and unsettling, frozen, in a way that didn't seem quite human. His eyes, ringed with smudged black makeup, darted back and forth with an unnerving intensity. He didn't laugh, not really. It was more of a wheezing cackle that seemed to claw its way out of his throat. Despite the unsettling appearance, or maybe because of it, people flocked to Grinny's tent. They said his shows were mesmerizing. He juggled bowling pins that seemed to float in the air, and his shadow puppet shows told stories that were both captivating and vaguely disturbing. Children, strangely drawn to him, would gather around, their laughter echoing across the carnival grounds long after the show was over. As the days wore on, a strange unease settled over the carnival. Whispers began to circulate amongst the carnies. Things weren't quite right. Items went missing from their trailers. Nothing valuable, just small trinkets and toys. The carnival folk chalked it up to bad luck, or maybe a mischievous group of teenagers. But a few, the ones who'd been around long enough to know better, cast suspicious glances towards Grinny's tent. Then the nightmares started. Vivid, unsettling dreams plagued the townspeople. Dreams of a clown with a grotesque grin standing at the foot of their beds, watching them with those unsettling eyes. Children especially seemed affected. They grew withdrawn, their laughter replaced with nervous glances over their shoulders. Parents started to worry, their initial excitement at the carnival turning to a gnawing sense of dread. The tension reached a fever pitch when little Megan Sims disappeared. She was a sweet, quiet girl of 7, with bright red hair and a gap-toothed smile. Her parents had taken her to the carnival for a night of fun, but their joy turned to horror when they realized she was gone. The last anyone had seen her, she was standing near the Ferris wheel, talking to someone dressed in brightly coloured clothes. A search party was quickly organised, but it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. The carnival was a maze of tents, rides and bustling crowds. Hours passed and hope began to dwindle. Then, late that night, a group of teenagers stumbled upon something chilling. There, tucked behind Grinny's tent, was Megan's favourite teddy bear. It was lying on the ground, abandoned, as if discarded. Section 5. Darkness Falls. Panic gripped the carnival. Parents clutched their children close, their faces etched with fear. The whispers that had been circulating now turned to accusations. An angry mob gathered outside Grinny's tent, demanding answers. But the tent was empty. Grinny was gone. As if on cue, the lights of the carnival flickered and died. The Ferris wheel groaned to a halt, its lights extinguished. Screams pierced the darkness as the crowd plunged into chaos. When the generator sputtered back to life, casting them midway in an eerie, flickering light, a horrifying discovery awaited them. More children were missing. The carnival had become a nightmare. Section 6. Vanished. The police arrived, sirens wailing, their flashing lights doing little to pierce the oppressive darkness that had settled over the carnival. The scene was chaotic. Parents frantically searched for their children, their cries echoing through the night. Carnival workers, their faces pale and drawn, huddled together, whispering amongst themselves. But no one had seen Grinny, and no one knew where the missing children had gone. The investigation was long and fruitless. They searched the carnival grounds, the surrounding woods, even the nearby lake, but found no trace of the missing children. Witnesses were interviewed, their stories a confusing mix of fear and speculation. Some claimed to have seen Grinny leading the children away, his grotesque grin illuminated by the flashing lights of the Ferris wheel. Others swore they saw shadows moving in the woods, shadows that seemed to vanish into thin air. Section 7. The Search. Days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, but the mystery of the missing children of Willowbrook remained unsolved. The carnival, once a symbol of joy and laughter, was dismantled, its rides and tents packed away, leaving behind only an empty field and a lingering sense of unease. The townspeople, their grief and fear palpable, retreated into their homes, their whispers echoing through the empty streets. The official investigation eventually went cold, the case filed away as unsolved. But for the families of the missing children, the nightmare was far from over. They clung to the hope that their loved ones were still out there, somewhere, alive. They refused to give up, even as the years turned into decades, and the memory of that fateful night at the Willowbrook Carnival faded into legend. Section 8. Whispers in the Wind. Life in Willowbrook went on, but it was never quite the same. The annual carnival, once the highlight of the summer, was never held again. The empty field where it once stood became a constant reminder of the tragedy, a place people avoided, especially after dark. The laughter of children, once so common, seemed to vanish from the streets, replaced by a heavy silence. Whispers of the missing children and the sinister clown named Grinny persisted, passed down from generation to generation. Some dismissed it as folklore, a cautionary tale told to keep children in line. But others, those who had lived through that summer of fear, knew better. They remembered the unsettling grin, the unnerving eyes, the chilling laughter that echoed in the night. And they knew deep down that some legends were rooted in truth. Section 9. A Town Haunted. Willowbrook bore the scars of that summer long after the carnival lights had dimmed. The town became known for its tragedy, a place whispered about in hushed tones. Tourists, drawn by the macabre, flocked to the town, hoping to catch a glimpse of the supernatural, to experience the chill of the unknown. But for the locals, it was a constant reminder of a darkness they could never quite escape. The field where the carnival once stood remained undeveloped, a desolate expanse of overgrown grass and weeds. Locals claimed that on certain nights, especially around the anniversary of the disappearances, strange lights could be seen flickering in the distance, and the faint sound of carnival music carried on the wind. And some, the bravest, or perhaps the most foolish, swore they saw him, a solitary figure with a grotesque grin, lurking in the shadows, watching, waiting. Section 10. The Legend of Grinny. The legend of Grinny the Clown became a part of Willowbrook's fabric, woven into the town's history and folklore. He became a boogeyman, a cautionary tale whispered to misbehaving children. But more than that, he became a symbol of the town's collective trauma, a reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of their seemingly idyllic world. To this day, no one knows for sure what happened to Grinny or the missing children of Willowbrook. Some say Grinny was a malevolent entity, a demon in disguise, who vanished back into the darkness from whence he came. Others believe he was a flesh-and-blood monster, a predator who preyed on the innocent, and that he's still out there, somewhere, waiting for his next opportunity. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: the legend of Grinny the Clown lives on. A chilling reminder that even in the brightest of lights, shadows can lurk, And sometimes the things that make us smile can also be the things that haunt our nightmares.